Hello Australia and the world, welcome to this fantastic Couch Extra. Thanks for joining us. Today Frank Prokop, of course health advocate, talks to Dr. Nick Waldron about a great case that's happening here when we talk about patients and welfare, and I'll let Frank explain the details. Over to you, Frank.
Thank you so much, Fred. I'm joined today by Dr. Nicholas Waldron, who's an aged care specialist at Armidale Hospital. And one of the things we'd like to talk about is some of the difficult conversations that we think that the community should be having. As the community is aging, obviously you're going to be spending more and more time in hospital, and when people get there, they're a bit unprepared. What are some of the things you think that the community and patients can do to help ease their stay in hospital?
Thanks, Frank. Well, I mean, we often talk about a good birth and a good life, but one of the things we don't often consider is a good death. And that can be a frightening thing for us as society, and we are kind of death-defying society. So really what I'm talking about is starting to open up into that space. And it's not a negative thing. It's not actually about dying. It's actually about living.
And it's about how you manage those types of processes. We're very nervous about it, and we tend to put things off. So you'll get into hospital, someone will be very ill, and you're having to make decisions on the run. It's really about improving partnerships as well between patients, carers and doctors to best manage some of these difficult experiences.
Absolutely, and preparation's the key. You know, if we leave everything to the last moment, of course it's going to be incredibly stressful. There's going to be a big emotional overlay because, of course, this is a loved one we're talking about. This is your mother, your father, your child. This is death. So if it's never been considered before prior to that time, then naturally it's going to be incredibly traumatic. And so the work we're doing is really about reducing that trauma and saying, hey, look, as tough as it is, we will die. So we need to start talking about that. And I don't mean leave it at the end. I say talk to your kids about it.
Well, it's one of those conversations that we should be having around the dinner table, really, isn't it? So it's organ donation, funerals versus cremations, and end-of-life care. Some of the statistics about resuscitation, for example, which is a major challenge for people as they go through, are nowhere near as good as, say, a Baywatch episode might have you believe.
Yes, CPR is definitely a tricky one because it's actually quite a complex decision, and the truth is it's not black and white. The truth is also we actually, as a medical profession, we actually can't predict exactly what's going to happen for an individual. So it needs to be a partnership. There needs to be the community and the medical profession need to kind of come to a shared understanding. Because, as you say, if you're watching Baywatch, the outcome on TV is about 80% survival. But we know in hospital at maximum it's 20%, and half of those people will end up with significant disability that represents a life worse than death, potentially.
And one of the ways to get around this is by having that conversation, having the instructions clear. Because in the absence of instructions, the medical fraternity is required to resuscitate and continue life as long as it's practicable.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here for. But we're also here for quality of life. And we're also here for respect, for dignity, and we're here to understand what is actually important to our patients, what is important to our community, what are their values, hopes and wishes. And so the conversations about dying are actually conversations about that. And when you start that with your family, you don't start with, you may have some tears and there may be some upset, but it's actually an opportunity to tell your family how much you love them. What's important? What is it that if they died, that you wish you would have said? Say it now, don't wait. And that's what these conversations are about.
And aged care has progressed enormously, in my opinion, and it's a lot more empathetic, and it's a much more caring and loving environment for families and carers, and the doctors are acting as facilitators. But you also have to ask some difficult questions as part of your role and responsibility. They're not actually threatening, they're more about how you can better provide care.
Yes, and that's true. And I think the way that you would know if you're starting to understand the situation is if you can answer this question. If you became unwell and you could not speak for yourself, who would you have speak for you? So to know who's that person, who's your go-to person? And then the next question you'll routinely be asked in hospitals in the future and now in WA is, have you had that conversation? Because at the end of the day, putting another person into that position and you've never talked about it is going to lead to them being distressed and not knowing what to do.
Well, these are particularly difficult things, but as you say, we can help you and we can help our loved ones to provide better and more quality and responsive care if we've had these types of conversations early. And it's always much better to have the discussions around in a loving environment than in a highly emotionally charged, stressful environment like you might around a hospital bed.
And as doctors, we do this poorly. We often go in there and we say what we're not going to do. Oh, we're not going to resuscitate you. Or I need to come to you to ask you if your heart stops, you want me to start it up again. Of course you do. That's what I'm here for, isn't it? It's a hospital. Whereas we're trying to change the way we approach this to say, these are all the things we will do for you. We will give you this. We will care for you. We will be considerate. We will be thorough. But there's some things that may not be in your best interest, and that's what we'd like to talk about with you, and then have the conversation. And
it's also about respect. So having an understanding enables you to respect a person's last wishes, to understand if they've got a religious bent, that may be an important component, that they have certain fears, that they will be able to be managed in such a way that the person can as you say, die nobly and with dignity, and that the family can have an experience which is never going to be happy or joyful, but which is certainly the highest quality that it can possibly be.
Very true. And if it's dealt with well, it can actually be quite joyful dying, as ridiculous as it sounds. And I go into patients who are dying and the families can be laughing and chatting away and just, of course there's tears there, but there's joy that they've had that opportunity to say goodbye to this amazing person in their life.
And we need to celebrate people's lives as much as we can. Dr. Nick Waldron is one of the doctors that's innovative and empathetic and is doing everything he can to assist patients and families and carers in a difficult time. I think you can all help yourselves by having these conversations. Fred, we'll come back again very soon and carry on this type of conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you very much to Dr. Nick Waldron and, of course, Frank Prokop talking health advocacy. Now, I know only a few months ago, I wish I had the use of Dr. Waldron because my father passed away in March and I know we went through many of the issues you spoke about today, Dr. Nick, and it is a hard time. And I will say, Sir Charles Gardner Hospital were fantastic. They did exactly what you just said. It is a time to say, well, this is what's going to happen when someone makes that choice that they want equipment turned off or life to change for them. They make that decision, and it's awesome when the hospital actually supports that decision and tells you in a positive way, make the room look beautiful, play some music, bring in the family, tell your father you love them. And it is a time to sort of say, reflect on the good things in life. And I think it's a wonderful thing too. And one thing I want to ask is, if people want more information, is there somewhere where in the health system we can get that information, maybe from Frank or from Dr. Nick? Is there someone we can call, or can we refer to someone for help?
We often talk about this with the word advanced care planning.
Yes.
So you can Google that, and there's a variety of different websites in different states. The terminology we're using in hospitals now is called goals of patient care.
That's a nice word.
This is a new term, and this is about turning it around from a negative thing to a positive thing.
Fantastic.
And to acknowledging that people are different. They come with different experiences and different views, and for us to, as occurred in your case, to reach a consensus.
It is. It's very, very important to talk and have that input as well, and have open communication and take the jargon out. I always find take the jargon out, because at that time when someone's going to pass away, you want to lose the jargon and start talking plainly. And I think it works. Advanced care plan, I do remember that word. So thank you very much for coming in, and we will talk to Frank and more of Dr. Nick, I'm sure, on the couch in the future. He's very interesting and knowledgeable. That is another Couch Extra for this time around. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you on the couch Sunday nights, 8 p.m. on Foxtel. See you then. Well done.